Right, team, we're in here for our buy, hold, risk it, and sell. Matty Thompson is in here. You might have seen a couple of weeks ago. He was part of that video. Got lots of views as well, over 8,000, which was great. And obviously liked his thoughts. He came, 111th last year. So really, really good thoughts that he can provide. And helps us out in the private group as well. We will see Scoop's thoughts. We're going to do the inside scoop tonight is all we can do. So that'll be out in the morning. A bit of a shorter video just on his thoughts. But today we'll have a bit of a discussion ourselves and get Matty's thoughts in detail after he had a pretty solid week, mate, of 726. Give us your thoughts on the week that was and then a bit about your squad as well, mate.
Yeah, it was a tough week all around, I think, for most coaches. Kura dudding out at the start wasn't very helpful for our sides. I didn't really think 726 was going to be a good score if I knew that at the start of the week. Yeah, definitely interesting that most coaches kind of went through that 650 to 750 range. Anyone above that kind of didn't have the likes of Kura, Tupanua, and yeah, they might have had like an Adam Fanua Blake or like some of my mates who don't really play a whole lot of fantasy. Like they don't watch any content. They've got Adam Fanua Blake and Manu and all these players that popped off, Garrix and the like. So I think a lot of the engaged fantasy managers kind of like middled out. And then a lot of these different pods came through for different players. So yeah, not too shabby. I'll definitely take this start for sure.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It looks like you have moved a couple of things around potentially already. Any guys you're worried about in your squad and any sort of potential trades? I know you're floating a few with me and then potentially not trading now. Tell us all about your sort of thought process.
Yeah, so I think at the start of the week, or on the weekend, I wanted to trade like a million guys out and get a million guys in. Um, I was thinking about it. It's interesting because I play the Fantasy Premier League game as well. And in that game, as soon as you make a trade, it's irreversible.
Wow.
So yeah, any rage trades that people make, they're stuck there. And you lose, like if you want to make additional trades, you have to pay points, like future points. So it actually really disincentivizes rage trading and encourages patience. Whereas in fantasy, which I do like, you can just play around all week, swapping players in and out of your team, and it's not official until it's locked. So I think, yeah, I think I definitely would have made trades if they were irreversible, but I've kind of calmed down a little bit now. But Ponga was definitely on the chopping block for me. Just because it was in and out of my side. And you can see that I've got 4 good wing fullbacks. So for any other team, I would definitely not recommend trading Ponga. But for my team, I brought into a picky for Lukey last minute, just because I thought that I wanted to give myself the option that if I wanted to trade Ponga this week, I could. Because he was in and out of my team going into the Raiders game. And I just wasn't 100% sure about spending that much money in wing fullback. But at the same time, I just like the rest of my team. So I just figured I would spend up there.
Yep.
And now I'm in a position where I could trade him out. But realistically, Terrell May is the big target. But he has Penasini this week. Then next week, he has Stags, then Manu, then Garrick, then a bye. So I'm sure we'll talk about him a bit more in detail, but he looks amazing and I really want him in my team, but it's hard to justify, especially trading Ponga for him.
Yeah.
When Ponga's probably going to outscore him, you'd have to think, or at least score similar. And is it worth using a trade? I'm not really sure. So yeah, I mean, Kotrick's in there. I don't have any center wing fullback cover. I have wing fullback cover, but no center cover now. But I'm not too stressed. I'm pretty sure Strange and Burbo will play. So I'm happy to leave that a week or two. But Kotrick might make his way out of my team for Galvin. But I'm going to use the loop on Salmon to start with. So if Salmon does really well on Friday night, I'll just leave Kotrick in the side. All good. And then if he does poor, I might swap a Chan or a Flanigan up there, and then I can easily get Galvin in for Kotrick, or I might even play Galvin, who knows. But yeah, and then maybe on Sunday I could be tempted with a Tupanua to a May. That's the other one that's possibly on my mind. I have the cash in the bank to do that. So that'll depend on what the bench looks like on Sunday. If May ends up starting, I think that'll definitely be the trade I make. But off the bench, I'm still a little bit unsure on his minutes. So he's got a great PPM, but yeah, we'll see. So the two Mays are kind of piquing my interest. So I'm sure we'll go into other players that are piquing everyone's interest yeah, we'll go over. So that's where I'm at.
For sure. Sounds good, mate. Thanks for the insights to the squad. I think that'll help a lot of people. But the Ponga to May, when we think about it, it's 100K, isn't it? And you'd expect Ponga to score better. So it's like, yeah, it seems silly to trade him. Obviously, the dual position's cool, but Ponga doesn't have a buy either. So in the next bunch, which is very helpful. So yeah, it's probably a good idea to keep the trades fluid as well, guys. It's exactly what you heard here. Is that he's going to see how Salmon plays, because he plays what second game of the round? Is that correct? And then he can make decisions around that and what he does with Kotrick or what he does with Tupanua through the week, and just make sure that you know when teams are playing. And if you are an active coach and watching the games across the weekend and have time to make changes with your team, that is the best way to do it. Obviously, don't forget to make your changes. But yeah, solid score, mate. 726. You're in the sort of upper echelon of the guys that try hard with this game. That's for sure. Let's talk about Terrell there. So you mentioned him that you're worried about the starting versus bench. I'm personally not, but you obviously know how high I am on Terrell. I suppose if he was to start, right, they'd have to find a way to get him back on in the second half, I suppose, and then the timing on it as well. Do you think that starting, there's just a more regular chance of a week-to-week basis that he can get sort of that 45 to 50 minutes? Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was just kind of going through the minutes, the predicted minutes in my head, and I figured that you've got Radley playing 70, then you have roughly, and then you have Butcher probably taking 10 minutes of that, potentially. And then Butcher's going to take, let's say, 30 minutes maybe of an edge spot. So there's 40 minutes for Butcher, assuming he doesn't get any of the middle minutes. And then you've got, like, let's say, even if you said 40 for Jared, and then 40 for Spencer, 60 for Collins, and 20 for White. I mean, it could be different than that. Collins could get 55. And so then maybe there's 5 minutes in there for May to get extra 5. But I think it's very tight. Like, and that's with Butcher not getting, like, because Butcher could easily get 60 minutes, for example, or 50 minutes. So I don't know. When I play out the minutes split across everyone, it's hard with Collins, Radley, and Jared. Like, when you take those minutes out, it's there's not a whole lot to get split around. So the only worry is, like, that obviously he was kept out there last week because he was doing so well and he had such a big motor. And I think coach said that he saved a try or something like that, and so he left him out there.
Yep.
But it didn't seem like I'm going to do this regularly kind of thing. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's a good option, and he's just a beast, like a PPM beast. So if he gets 45 minutes, he's, pretty much a must-have. But if he gets that 40 minutes, it's a little bit like, I don't think it's worth trading in at this point. I think last week was the week to get him, and this week is he's probably not going to make the money that we need him to make for it to be worth the 2 trades getting him in and out of your side, because he's not a keeper. So you're not going to want him long term, potentially, like, unless he gets like a 50-minute role and becomes that is possible that he becomes a keeper. But yeah, I think it's a bit of a gamble, because even last season, the end of last season, around 25, so around 24, he played 39 minutes. around 25, 41, then 36, then 51. So, I mean, that averages out to around 42 minutes or something like that. And if he's getting that kind of minutes, then he's probably not worth the 2 trades,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
he's just he's a different player to that is the thing as well. And the thing he was saying about that he had to keep him on, he said that he had to keep him on in the finals games too. He was their best forward. So, yeah, there's 2 ways to look at it for sure. And as I said, he was doing that, keeping him playing 40 minutes in the whole second half in finals games. So, and that's with Hargraves and everyone there as well. So it's yeah, there's definitely worries to it. But he's definitely part of that risk it plays, isn't he, this week? Because yeah, at 523K, you can be a 700K guy and get 45 minutes for 50 points. Or he makes 100K, right? Is that probably where if it's 40 minutes?
Yeah, I mean, if he gets 50 the next 3 weeks, I think he makes 100K in 3 weeks. So it's definitely a high upside move for sure. And if he gets another 60 or something in his rolling average, then you're laughing. So I can see both sides of it. I'm just kind of a little bit more on the fence because I think when I first looked at him, I looked at the points rather than the minutes. And so I thought he was kind of getting 50 minutes, towards the end of last season more than twice. So we don't have the final stats. I thought the final stats used to show up in footy statistics, but they're not there.
He was over 50 minutes. He was 55 a game in the finals games.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then I would probably lean more towards him being a buy if he was getting those 50 minutes.
Yeah, it's just my only thing for not picking him was just that we weren't sure how it was going to look, and then he got that. And I suppose the only thing is Tupanua. Does he get 70 minutes? Does Wong get sort of 50 odd? Does Butcher drop down? Does Hargraves get that 42 minutes from Lenu? It's hard to get those minutes around. So I definitely see the worry. I don't think it's 55 long term. I think it's 45 to 50, but that's 50 points for me, and it's a clear buy. But that's enough on him. Let's move on to Taylor, your boy now. At 627, we spoke about him. If people had sort of that 100K in the bank or something like that, would he be a good purchase this week, do you think still, or is it more just a situation thing for you that you're not looking at, like you're not going to pull the trigger in the end?
I think it's a great buy this week. Obviously, he's not a great buy in relation to like his buy schedule and the opposition he has coming up. It's quite tough. So you could easily just wait and try and pick him up in after the bye against the Tigers. Then the draw kind of eases up a little bit. I guess it's a bit up and down, but you've got the Bulldogs there, you've got St. George, the Knights, and they also play round 13.
Yep.
So you get him through that period, I think is a good option as well. At the end of the day, he's a center. So as good as he's looked, he still had 2 turnover tackles, a try save. So he's not going to get that every week. Is he going to make 18 tackles every week? I mean, in the centers, maybe. Penasini kind of makes, high tackles. He reminds me, like he's got that similar, he's like a Toto, but in the centers. He's like nuggety, not quite Toto, but he's that kind of bit more nuggety player. He's put on some size in his time off. I mean, he looks great. Like the eye test is great. It's just a matter of if he works for your side. I think it's also fine to just kind of keep eyeballing the centers. Like we had Roger last week, who a lot of people were getting him instead of Taylor. And, he kind of just got smothered every time he got the ball. So there's every chance Roger comes out this week and gets a 60 odd and Taylor gets a 30 odd. So I don't mind just kind of eyeballing especially the center and wing fullback is such an up and down position.
Yep.
So it's easy for them to have a good game and then a really low game. So yeah, I don't mind just kind of eyeballing, and that's where I'm at with most of my trades at the moment. I'm thinking, well, if I trade out Suly and if I trade out Ponga and if I start making these moves in my team, next week I'm going to have so much more information. that I think I can make better trades because we've only got 1 round worth of information plus preseason trials. Next week, we're going to have pretty much double the information we have this week. So I think it's a good week to kind of, if you're not sure on something, to just sit and wait. But the issue with Taylor is he does have a lowish break even, but 30 is not super low. So I think you still could wait a week, but if you go 60, then you kind of probably can't get him leading into the buy.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I have it as he's the risk it play this week. I think if you go this week, you could benefit from it. If you don't go this week, I think either way, he's probably 700K after the buy. And then at that point, have you built up enough cash in your team to get a 700K center or fullback that plays center? It's probably not. So yeah, it's this week or after the buy. But yeah, it could be still an awesome keeper pick somewhere in that section to get around 13, 14 guy who is a gun. Speaking of guns, Lockie Galvin, I didn't end up picking him for round 1. Went for a bit of a cash grab, which gained me 9K with Joe Chan. Thank you very much. But Lockie, is it worth teams kind of picking him up this week? You don't have any qualms with that, or is he a guy that you can just watch this week and see what's happening with Caesar? A little bit of chat around Caesar with a potential groin injury, so maybe just less minutes off the bench for Caesar this week. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's one of the ones you can go either way on.
Yep.
I'm more than happy to get him this week. He looks like he's the future of the club. So worst case, he kind of comes in and out of the side, like in and out of the starting side by the looks of it. But best case, he comes out and scores a 50 and starts making cash from day one, and everyone is a must-have from next week. So I think if you've got other more important trades to do, or you want to save trades this week, it's fine to leave him, but just know that you're going to probably have to get him next week. If he comes out and even scores a 30 and starts again next week, he's going to pretty much be a must-have, I think.
Yeah. Right now, the break even's all right this week, isn't it? But yeah, if that gets down to like a 3 or a 4 or something like that with a 30 odd, then yeah, and I suppose it's good to get some information on Galvs, but he might be someone that you could drop down to facilitate a secondary trade as well, which is cool. Terrell Duncan, big one for this week. I'm definitely interested in him myself at 413K. It's a little bit awkward at 29, but we know that he has supreme talent. And that's what I look for in fantasy assets, is that, a few things that I overlooked, unfortunately, like didn't actually pick them in my side, but I knew the May brothers had supreme talent. You're seeing that with a few other guys that have come out and done really well, the Zach Laybutts, these types of guys. Terrell Duncan is one of those guys in the forwards where he can get the sort of the base stats in the meters gained, the tackles. Unsure what's going to happen with him on an edge, right? Is he going to play edge? There's a bit of talk about him actually playing in the middle and Murray training on an edge. I'm not sure about all that, but is he worth the punt this week? Or is he again another one of those guys you can just watch for this week as well?
I think with a break even of 30, you can definitely just watch. I mean, if you're a South fan and you just want to get him, then sure, go for it. But with Cam Murray, as you said, training on the edge, I think that it's an easy kind of wait and see. We've seen him play. He does well. His reserve grade stats, I don't think are amazing on the edge. I think
never played edge, really. So
never played edge.
Yeah,
didn't play last week.
Not on the edge, I don't believe. He's just been a middle. So
okay. Well, yeah. Either way, I think it's easy to just skip a week for him. He's not going to go anywhere. Even if he scores 50, you're not going to lose out too much. But if you really want to get him this week, you can go for it. We also need to wait and see what happens with the rest of their bench next week, potentially. So see how the middle rotation goes, see what happens with Cam Murray. There's just a lot of questions, so I don't mind waiting a week for him.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely someone I'm interested in. If you are too, then we're not going to push you away from him. Vital and Mariner and Eisenhuth, mate, just give us a little snapshot of what you think is happening with the Dragons. Are they going to cannibalize each other's minutes? We've got DeBellin in there playing near 60 as well. What are your thoughts on these two?
So this was one of the games I didn't catch last week, unfortunately, but I'm just a wait and see on these guys. I mean, I know it's one of those ones where they have low break evens and they did really well last week, but with Leilua coming back, I think it's just a bit too risky to get in there and pick up one of them, especially with RFM coming off the bench. Yeah, I don't know. I personally will be avoiding them, but I can see the merit to picking them up. I'm sure someone's going to pick one of them up and they'll do really well, but finding out which one is the pickup and which one is going to go to the bench and get like 30 minutes next week, it's a bit tough for me to decide.
Yeah, he looked great, but he had a pretty perfect game with 3 offloads, a try assist, try saver. Eisenhuth, very similar to that, had a turnover tackle, try saver, played middle, which now he's been named on an edge, but does he even start? I suppose like you could wait until this game happens, but you do have to wait a little bit through the week, right? They're the last game, so it's such a risk to pick any of these 2 guys up. So we're going to avoid them. They'll make money, but how much, right, is the question. Mate, a lot of people asking me questions, should I be selling Suly? That game, obviously, you said you didn't really get a watch of, but if you're looking at stats of 4 tackle breaks and 211 run meters, what does that spell to you?
Spells that there's going to be some attacking stats coming for sure. Some tries, some try assists. I would definitely be holding Suly. He looked great in the trial, and he's just one of those players that can easily get a line break, get a try. He's a big body in the centers. At 25, I would have been a little bit more concerned before he got those tackle breaks added and whatnot.
Yeah, they just missed him.
But I didn't. It was, as I said, it was pretty much the only game that I didn't get to watch on the weekend. So without watching the game, it's hard to know. But if they just didn't go to his side, which is by the sounds of it, Ravalawa didn't get much points either or anything so out of the game. So yeah, they just didn't go to that side a whole lot. So it's just one of those things that easily next week they go to that side and he scores a bunch of points and he's up against the Dolphins. So I would definitely be holding.
Yeah, for sure. It is against Farnworth and the like, but yeah, I thought that was a good score. Like you got 40 out of Penasini and had to pay 125k more, so 7 points extra. So yeah, holding Suly, play him this week and see how we go. Mate, Brandon Smith, kind of a little bit the forgotten man in this sort of couple of days. He's here since teamless. Is he someone who'd still look to target with the hook and mid duel after looking really nice on the weekend? Maybe playing a couple less minutes than we might think too?
It's tough. It's tough. I think that there's possibly better options. With the duel, it's a bit closer, but it's one of those things that I wouldn't mind waiting another week on Brandon, because if he gets 55 minutes again or below, I think you could probably leave it. But if he gets 60, then or 60 plus, and if he scores like a 50, then is it definitely an easy pickup. But when you have the likes of Appy this week for 50k more, who's going to kick goals, the captain. There's also Little that we can wait and see on. I think with Hooker, it's a good week to just wait and see, and then next week we'll have a lot more information, to be honest.
Yeah, well, he didn't have any negatives either. When you see most of these games, he's sort of that 3 to 4 type of missed tackle guy. So yeah, if he does get the 55 minutes without attacking stats, it could be like a 34, couldn't it? So, and then you're like, oh, sell, like all close to it, right? So yeah, let's I think we watch with Smithy. Flanigan, mate, you've got him in your side. We obviously happy enough with his score at 36. Does include a try saver with a line break try. Is there cause for concern with the kick meters? Obviously, tackle numbers a little bit low for him as well. General thoughts on him? Could you use him as a trade out target, or is he one of those guys that, okay, he's got to improve score, his break even is a little bit lower? What are your thoughts?
I think you can go either way on Flanagan, to be honest. Okay. I've played with trading him out of my side. I think I can trade him to May if I get Galvin in. Do a double swap where I do Kotrick down to Galvin and then Flanagan up to May.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to trading him. I'm not opposed to keeping him. At the end of the day, he scored 11 points above his break even. So easy hold. He did score a try, get a try saver, as you said, but the tackles are quite down. So there's possibly 10 points in tackles that he might pick up next week. So we'll see.
Yeah.
I think you can. Yeah, I'm just kind of either way on him.
Easy. Tommy Talau's back, mate. He broke my heart last year. He does look like a better player and in a better team, obviously, with Manly. Is there scope for anyone that wants to pick him up now if they need, like, just say they've had the issue with like Tessie New, and who is a clear sell, by the way, Tessie, and then yeah, Kotrick or something. And if you need a center or a wing fullback this week, could you buy him and play him this week?
I don't know if I'd play him against the Roosters, but I think he's fine to trade in. His average on the wing, I think, is 27. So, and he's in a better team. Like that was in a Tigers team. He's in a better team now in Manly. But you can see he's got a 1 in his score. He's got a 0 in his score. So he has every chance that he could go quite low. And the 27 is with a 0.5 try scoring rate. So I think he's a wait and see.
Yeah.
Personally, just because I think trading Kotrick to him, if you don't need to play him, is a little bit of a waste this week.
That feels
I might. There's every chance I might pick him up next week as cover for center because I don't have cover for center. But that's if he does really well, gets a low break even, and then starts to make money. Then he's possibly a pickup. But if he gets a 40 this week, he's still not going to go crazy because of his current break even. So I think easy hold.
That's fair. Do you think cheapy cover is overrated?
Yes, I do. Okay. I think, especially early in the season, I think it's overrated.
Yep.
In terms of wasting trades, trading a Kotrick to a Talau, because there's every chance that next week, Kotrick's 18th man, that this week someone gets injured in the back line, Kotrick's straight into that side.
Yep.
And then you've got Talau, who's got like maybe 5 or 6 weeks runway, and then Saab's back in the team. I mean, we don't know. It could be 8 weeks or something like that, but Saab's already had 2 weeks to recover.
Yep.
So
yeah, it might be 5.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting one. Earlier on the year, not as important. Mid-year, when you're hoping for sneaky, like Kotrick 20 points or whatever that Brenton always talks about, much more helpful in that buy period. Wong, mate, also a bit of a forgotten man this week. If you didn't decide to pick him up, he's cleared of injury, probably a few more minutes on the line. His work ethic was great, 44 in 52, tackling his heart out. Can be a guy that scores tries as well, as we know, supremely talented. Is he a good option this week if you can get to him at 459?
Interesting. I've not really thought of him as a buy this week because we've all kind of had him and then he got injured and we're all a bit like, oh, well, at least he got 44. So I guess he could be a buy for those that don't have him. But then again, do you go the Tallis Duncan, who's cheaper? Do you go up to a May, potentially more upside? I'm not sure. I think we have enough edges in our side with Piakura and Lukey's and all of these kind of guys that I could just wait a week to see how he goes, to see what minutes he gets, to see what his role is. I think it's fine to do that. He's not going to get away from you at a break even at 25. So if I didn't have him, I'd be happy to just wait a week, I think.
Yeah, it's cool. Piakura, mate, he's sort of been sold by 2.5% of people. He's a clear hold, right? At 366. It's cash cow territory.
Yeah, no, easy hold. I mean, he's not going to play 4 minutes every week. So, yeah.
No. He already had a tackle break in that time. Yes, 2 missed tackles. One of them when he got knocked out. The other one just getting excited. But, yeah. So, it's Tupanua, mate. Are you on the hold/sell? Like, you're fine either way with him?
Yeah, I'm fine either way. I think it's one of those ones where I want to reassess next week if I can to just see where the Roosters rotation is at. But he also doesn't have a great PPM. And if he gets 60 minutes, he's probably not going to be the guy that we want.
Yeah.
But
so there's 40 and 64 minutes if you go over 50 but under 70.
Yeah, he'll still make cash. He'll just be a really slow burn. But if he jags a try or something in the next couple of games, I mean, not that they're particularly easy, like looking at them, Manly, Bunnies, Penrith, Bulldogs. It's not particularly easy.
Olakuatu side this week, so
yeah. So I mean, I'm happy either way, selling or keeping. But I just think, yeah, that extra week information is going to be pretty valuable. And so if he comes out and plays 80 minutes and you've sold him, you're going to be pretty bummed.
Yeah, that's fair. If he comes out and knocks out a 50 with the try or even like a 40 without, you're like, oh, okay, he starts making money now for sure. But either way is fine. He's obviously carrying a little bit of an injury too. So does that affect performance? Kini kind of cooked me, didn't he? I was hoping for a bit better. And now that there's two options for him, guys. I think it's clearly he has the bye this week. You could hold, loop, use him as a loop. Hopefully he plays against the Dogs and he can score well there. And he's cover, I suppose, in wing fullback. Or you just sell him because he's got sort of a couple of weeks maybe left in the team. Mates, what are your thoughts on him not being an owner? Less biased than I'm going to be. Thoughts?
Hold or sell, up to you. I think it's an easy, similar to Kotrick, wasting trades on those cheap guys this early. I don't really love it,
Yep.
especially when you can loop. So for anyone who doesn't know how to loop, definitely watch some of Jamie's videos on how to loop, because you can get that extra 20, 30 points depending on who you're putting there. So I think he's valuable this week as a looper. If I had a Kini and a Tessie New, or a Kini and someone else that isn't playing, then I would look to trade him out potentially, because you don't want more than one player not making money this week.
Oh
So
yeah, this early. Yeah, this is something I'm obviously working with at the moment. Is this, do I keep him this week as the looper? Considering we've got guys like, if I sold him, it might be like a Terrell Duncan or something, and I'm just going to play him straight up. Don't have any loopers. And then Salmon, like if he comes out and gets 50 minutes and hits a 40, I'm probably going to want his score, and I've missed out on that. So that's kind of my questioning. If you wanted to, like, I suppose if you wanted to score this week, then you can go him to like Galvin as like they could be potentially all right. But then, is there more benefit in just keeping as a looper for the week? It's a tough call for sure. Kotrick has spoken enough about him. Hold or sell is fine. To Ptolemy, is he on the hit list? Would you have him as a more of a sell above Tupanua?
I think so, just because of his price. I think it's one of those ones you could easily hold, but with the bench this week at the Rabbitohs being 4 forwards, it's not even like a 3 forwards and a host this week. It's 4 front rowers.
Yeah.
So it's tough, especially at that price, when you can pivot to May, or you can go down to a Wong or down to a Duncan. There's just so many better options, but at the same time, there's every chance he can come out, play 45 minutes, get 45 points, and you're laughing. So I don't mind either way.
That's very fair. There was a lot of points in that game. Safe, I thought I did, mate. I forgot to add him in. 359. Is there any scope in buying him this week, or is he just a clear watch?
Watch for me. I think there's scope in buying him this week if you, for whatever reason, have the exact cash to get him, and playing him will avoid playing someone else that you don't really want to have to play. But I mean, realistically, our benches aren't that weak, so I think you can easily just wait and see what his minutes are at.
I'm with you there. Cotter, mate, he's actually being sold by about 1% of teams. Look, I've tinkered with it just as a way to get May myself, and that's probably why people are selling as one of the options. Secondary guys, like obviously there was 61 points scored in that Cowboys and Dolphins game, so I do think that he will be able to score better and maybe get a few more minutes as well. You saw sort of 56 minutes, 59, 67 last year. He had 3 missed tackles as well, and an error. Like, is there every world that he gets a 50 average going forward and can still make us 100K, mate?
Yeah, for sure. I'm not stressed on Cotter, but at the same time, we see that he's going to get a rest when they're up.
Yeah.
So
not as bad as Lolo. Thank God.
No, not as bad as Lolo. That was hectic. But so I don't mind the trade if you really need to, but I would definitely be holding in most cases.
Awesome. All right, Cam McInnes is 695 again. Someone I own. There's a bit of a worry there. He is on my chopping block just for the money that I can use for him, and I do think there's every chance that he gets sort of 55 minutes this week and hits a 55. My only thoughts with him, guys, is that the difference between him and Cotter is that Cotter's more chance of making money if he hits that 50 average, where McInnes has to go 50, 55, 56 to kind of start making money again over the next few weeks, and you can use his cash to go elsewhere, I suppose. but definitely expecting him to bounce back this week. Are you feeling the same?
Yeah, last week you had Jack Williams' 100th game. So he ended up playing the most minutes of any middle, which I don't think is going to happen going forward. You've also got the Bulldogs that the Sharks are getting dominated in the middle by the big bodies, the Adam Fanua-Blakes, etc. last week. And so he maybe came off earlier than intended. This week they're up against a more tame Bulldogs pack. So, I'm happy with trading him if you really need the cash and you need to fix up another position, like you've got no cover for wing fullback or something like that, and you want to get in a Tedesco or a Turbo or something like that. That's fine, but at the same time, expect to get burnt. He could easily come out and get 55 points, and whoever you trade him to gets 40 points. So.
Oh, I'm fully expecting it. Don't you worry. Tohu Harris is obviously one that you could pivot to. Would you trade McInnes to Harris, or do you, they could score the same this week as well? It's just a 1 week thing.
I don't know. I've considered it like very briefly. I considered it just because Harris playing 80 minutes is just a gun.
He's so good.
But yeah, at the same time, is it just a wait and see a week? Probably.
Yeah. If you can get to him another way, then awesome. Like if it's JDB or something like that, he's a clear sell. You could go him to Tohu Harris. Moses even potentially.
I'd even go Hopgood at this point, just with Cartwright coming into the lock role.
That was weird, hey? I still think he's a clear hold Hopgood, but it's just 1 week because he could be a 60s guy easily. But I do understand if you want to make some money, that's cool. Man, I'm going to lose you in a minute, so let's just talk about Little and I'll finish the last couple as a team. Thanks so much for coming on. I'm sure it's been super helpful getting an insight into your team and your thoughts around players, given you're a top-tier guy here. But Little, mate, any thought in grabbing him? As a strange couple of try-savers, 2 turnover tackles, and a pretty perfect game overall with big minutes. Scope for more of that?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you can wait. At the same time, you've got your Brandon Smiths, you've got your Appies in around the same price point.
Yeah.
He's never really done this. I mean, you can see he's got a 78 and a 66, but there's a lot of middling scores and the PPM is not usually this high. So I don't know. We'll see. It could be a great pickup.
Yeah.
Break even to 21 against the Dolphins this week. He could score a try or something.
Yeah.
Up to you. I think you could go either way, but personally, I wouldn't go there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. All right, legends, just to finish that up, I will eventually pay for Zoom, maybe. 538K for Smithies. Matty had him as an avoid, given Horsburgh will be back in a few weeks, but I definitely see a little bit of value in it. We don't know exactly the minutes he's going to get. We got to see 68 of them in the first week, and he did really well. He did have an error and did have a missed tackle, so maybe room for 1 tackle break in there. Maybe an increase in 1 missed tackle, I suppose, they could be in there. But expect a similar kind of output from Smithies for sure. And then Jesse Arthurs was one. Matty just said, check to see if he can actually do it again this week, or if it was a bit of a flash in the pan with 4 tackle breaks, a line break, and a try assist with a turnover tackle. I'm thinking the same, guys. It's against the Bunnies. You could have another good week with their outside backs sort of being out and the like. But you come into Penrith and he's going to have a tough one against them. They've got Melbourne as well. 2 of the next 4 weeks, and Cowboys could torch them as well on that side. Who knows exactly how it's going to play out? But they're the final 2 guys. Obviously, that was really cool. Thanks to Matty for coming on. We'll get Scoop's thoughts later tonight. It'll be out for you guys in the morning, and I'll also do just a mini buy, hold, risk it, sell from myself, a short and sharp one, just so for you guys that are short on time, we'll be able to get into that. It is about 10 minutes. I was hoping for it to be about 5 or 6, but that's what it is, and I still think that's quick enough for you guys. And thanks for being here, and we'll catch you in the next one.